Yes. All right, we're back. Council, anything you want to discuss before we get started?
Nope, ready to begin, Your Honor.
Attorney Scarano, you there? All ready to go?
Can't hear you, Bob.
Attorney Scarano, can you say something? Attorney
I can hear
Scarano?
you now, Your Honor.
Okay, good. All right. All right, you ready to go? Anything you want to bring up before we start?
Nothing I need to bring up before we discuss the exhibit before us, Your Honor.
All right, Attorney Kornitsky, you may proceed.
Your Honor, there was an issue that we were talking about, the propriety of this document and the possibility of replacing it. Should we go to sidebar to discuss that?
I'm sure. I'm going to go to sidebar. All right, you can put the plan back on and continue your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And just, I've lost track of how many H's this plan is.
7 H's.
7, all right.
Actually, I take that back. I'm sorry. I think it is. I've got to look at my list here, tested exhibits. Let's make sure. It's 7.
7 H's?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Giuliano, directing your attention back to the plan in front of you. Could you tell me what changes you made to this plan most recently?
The line that is identified as north 1943, 13 west. That line was mislabeled as 1 foot, and it should be 8.14 feet.
And is that where I have the cursor right now?
That's where you have the cursor right now.
So
So
this is
essentially,
from this point,
yes,
this point.
to the sideline of Park Street, correct.
So nothing changed about the line itself, only the reference, only to your statement about what the distance was.
Correct. It's just a label. So area-wise, our configuration of that red line hasn't changed. It's just a label. And obviously, that line is more than 1 foot long.
And so this plan is essentially the same as contested exhibit 6Ps, which I showed you just before this plan, except for that change?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about some of the other distances on this plan. What do you recognize this area here that's indicated by these lines? What is this area?
So that's the location of the permanent sewer easement that's located on property of Fitch.
How did you locate that?
That's by plan, which I believe was a Feldman plan that identified the math and how it tied into Hardy Street and into the property of Fitch.
And do you know what the distance is between the line of the sewer easement closest to the disputed adverse possession area and the disputed adverse possession area right here where my cursor is? So this area here.
So that line is approximately 4.5 feet.
Thank you. And what about the along, this is Hardy Street here?
That is the paved Hardy Street.
And another dimension that's not on your plan, but I'm interested to know if you know the distance of this portion of Hardy Street, the edge of Hardy Street, if you know the distance of the disputed adverse possession claimed area. So from the black corner here to this here with the red.
Right. So that would be, if you look at the plan, you see the 8.31 dimension in red.
Right here?
Yes. So that is from the deeded property line of Morose. And that goes to the red line that intersects Hardy Street. That's the 8.31 foot dimension. And then if you look on the other side of Hardy Street, there's a 19.50 feet.
Right here?
Yes. So that's from the deeded line of Morose to the edge of that claim of adverse possession. So that distance would be 19.5 minus the 8.31.
So it's 11.19 feet?
So that's what I just calculated. It's 11.19 feet.
And how about this distance here from the, what is this feature shown right here? That I'm.
So that line is the edge of pavement that I located. And I think I have it metered. It says existing paved driveway. So
Right
that,
here.
yeah, so that identifies the edge of pavement of the driveway that existed on November 24th.
Do you know the distance from the edge of pavement right at Hardy Street to the disputed adverse possession area? So where I'm asking about?
Yeah, I don't know what that dimension is. It's probably a couple of feet, maybe 1.5 feet. I can look it up in CAD.
Okay, how about the width of the driveway?
So the driveway is about 8 feet, 8.0 feet, edge of pavement to edge of pavement along Hardy Street. It's
So
the
at
street
this-
line of Hardy Street.
So at this point here, it's.
Yes, that's the street line, the southwesterly street line of Hardy Street.
How about the length of the, so this is the edge of the paved Hardy Street, correct?
That's the edge of the paved right of way, yes.
Where it intersects with Hardy Street?
Those 2 points is where the driveway intersects the paved road,
Paved, that's what I meant to say.
yes.
You know the distance from the edge of paved road to the garage?
I don't know what that is. I can look it up, but I don't know what it is just looking at this plan.
Okay. And this dimension here, 8.88 feet,
Yes.
what can you tell me what that is?
So that is the dimension from the deeded lot line of Morose as it intersects the garage, and then go along the face of the garage to the end of the garage. So I'm basically showing you that it's 8.88 feet that garage at that face overlaps into the property of Fitch. And then the same for that 7.45 dimension, which is the other end of the garage.
Over
That
here?
tells you how much that garage is over the property line.
Okay, so I see the arrows here.
Yes.
Right. But I don't see arrows pointing to this one here. You
Yeah,
don't-
if you look in the leader in the road, if you go towards the road, you'll see a bearing dimension.
Okay, so that's pointing to the same that's the same 8.88.
Yeah, so that would be the bearing, yes. That would be the bearing of the garage, face of the garage, and the dimension from the garage as it intersects the property line to the end of the garage.
Okay. I'm going to show you, Your Honor, I'd ask that this exhibit be marked at this point for identification.
All right, so this will be 7H as in hotel for identification.
Okay, I'm going to ask you next about a couple of other plans that I think you had a chance to look at. Um, um, well, first I want to go back. I apologize. I'm going to go back to one more. Dimension. I just wanted to ask you about what you located. You have a dimension here of 80 feet.
So that is the property line of Morose. It only has a depth of 80 feet.
And how did you determine that it's 80 feet?
So there's a 1877 plan that subdivided lots on Hardy Street, and that dimension came from that plan. So Morose only owns 80 feet of depth on their property.
What's this 80.09 feet dimension?
So what I'm telling you there is that there's an iron rod that was set by, I believe it was set by Royal Land Surveys, which is Ted Forbes. So that's telling you that we found an iron rod, and it's 80.09 feet from that rod to the street line of Hardy Street.
Okay, so is that where I'm pointing the cursor? Is that where you?
That would be the end of that 80.09, and then the other end would be an iron rod that was found, which is basically an inch beyond the property line.
And the iron rod is marked as IRF.
That is correct,
Okay,
which stands for iron rod found.
right.
I was going to now show you a couple of other plans that have been marked as contested exhibits. I'm showing you this one here. You recognize this has been marked as contested exhibit 6R. Have you seen this plan before?
Yes.
And do you know who completed this plan?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You know who completed this plan?
Well, it says William Dutchmont.
You know Mr. Detremont?
I don't.
Do you know his company, CLG Associates?
I mean, I know who they are because of the dealings of the last 5 years as far as this project, but I don't know the company.
And this plan was dated January 26th, 2021.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you some questions about this plan. What does this plan appear to, what area is this showing?
It looks like it's showing area within the right of way of Hardy Street of lawn area. It looks like it's showing a adverse possession claim of lawn area within outside the right of way and area of a driveway. I guess that would be the paved driveway.
Do you have an opinion about certain dimensions that are shown on this plan?
Yeah, as far as dimensions, there's a
I'm just asking yes or no. Do you have an opinion?
yes.
And what do you rely upon in reaching your opinion?
That would be the survey that I performed.
And what is your opinion about dimensions on this plan specifically?
Just 3 dimensions that I noticed that is different from my survey. They're showing the property line as being 80.16 feet, and we only are deeded 80 feet. We can't go beyond the 80 feet since there's no original monumentation at either end of that line.
So that's this number right here.
That's that number right there, correct?
Anything else?
They show a dimension to the garage of 7.9 feet to the street line of Hardy Street. And I think on one of my exhibits, that dimension is actually like 7.2 feet. So there's a difference of about 8.5 inches.
And anything else?
And then the driveway, they showed the driveway, the paved driveway is 9.7 feet wide. And that driveway is only 8 feet wide.
Is there anything else about the plan that you had an opinion on?
No, No, just that the hatch areas, I quite didn't understand what the purpose was. But no, as far as dimensionally, I don't have any questions or concerns.
Okay, I wanted to, actually, I wanted to ask you one other question. This shows, do you know what this is on this plan?
Well, it's not labeled, but I don't know. I would assume it's a box of a footprint of a potential building, but it's not labeled, so I don't know what it is.
It's nothing that's on the ground, correct?
There's nothing that's on the ground. That's correct.
Showing you another plan that's been marked as, this one is 6Ks. Have you seen this plan before?
Yes,
This is also dated January 26th.
yes,
And similarly, it shows that box.
yes.
Did you have an opinion about any of the dimensions or anything else in this plan?
The only thing on this plan was they're calling out the drive area is 78 square feet. And that area of the paved driveways is more like 57 square feet.
Why is that?
It's probably two reasons. One is the width of the driveway, it's narrower, and then the location of the garage is closer to the street, so therefore it's a smaller area.
So could you explain what you say about the location of the garage?
So on this plan, they're showing 7.9 feet from the corner of the garage to the street line of Hardy Street. And the survey I performed, the corner of the garage is 7.2 feet off the street line. And then the actual paved driveway is 8 feet wide, not the 9.7 feet as shown on this plan. Therefore, I calculated a smaller area of driveway hatch.
There's also a dimension here, 25 feet. Appears to be measuring from a point here to this edge of driveway. Do you have any opinion about that dimension?
I don't. I don't know what it represents.
And so actually, I'll withdraw that question. That's all I have about this exhibit. This one is 6J. Also dated January 26th. You recognize this plan?
Yes.
And you reviewed it before today?
Yes, probably yesterday.
And did you have any opinions about any of the dimensions on this plan?
Well, I think it shows the same dimensions as the previous two plans you've shown. And so it's the 78 square feet of driveway area, the 7.9 feet of the garage to the street line of Hardy, and the 9.7 feet of paved width. So it shows the same information as the other two plans, except it doesn't show like the hatch areas of the lawn area and so forth. So I think the other plan looks like it's clearer.
Okay. And the last one I was going to show you is 7G. This plan dated February 3rd. Do you recall when you first saw this plan?
That, I believe it was this morning.
You had an opportunity. This shows a different area, correct?
That shows the rear yard of Morose.
And do you have any opinions about this dimension here again, 80.16?
Well, that's the dimension I was referring to that their deeded dimension and what they actually own is 80 feet of lot depth along that line.
Okay, so let's also ask you about those. Thank you. I am next going to ask you about what was marked as RR, what is now Exhibit 122. You seen this plan before?
Yes.
What do you understand this plan to be?
That is a RDA plan, which means it was a plan, a request for determination of applicability.
And it's dated in August 29th of 2012 and revised 10/26/2012.
Yes.
At that time, did you represent the Moroses?
No.
Had you been to the property here at that time?
No.
But you've seen this plan before, right?
Yes.
And and you see this area here that is labeled property transfer to Morose?
Yes.
I am next going to ask you about this one here. This is contested 6Q. Now, you recognize this plan?
Yes,
And who completed this plan?
I do.
You know the date?
January 27th, 2021.
And now this, what did you do? What does this plan show?
So this plan shows the blue hatched in area shows the area claimed by Morose for adverse possession. And that red line was taken from that RDA plan you just showed me, overlaid onto this, so you could see where that line was from that RDA plan in relationship to the claim of adverse possession.
So before you added the RD, we were looking at a plan that's been marked for identification with 7H for ID. You recall that plan we were looking at a few moments ago?
Are you referring to the RDA plan?
No, not the RDA plan. I'll show you which
The
plan.
one you provided this morning.
Oh, okay, yes.
That plan was, you made a change on that plan this morning.
Yes, that was showing the difference between what I believe is not contested anymore as far as area, and the difference between that and the area of claim of adverse possession.
And so what you did with this plan is you just put this red line from the 2012 RDA plan to show where it would fit onto this plan.
Correct.
And how did you do that? How did you calculate where this red line would go on the plan?
So I have a PDF copy of that plan. That lot that's shown on that RDA plan is not dimensioned. However, I was able to scale with some degree of accuracy. And if you look at towards the rear of that property, it's 13.0 plus or minus feet. If you can put your cursor there.
What was the dimension you were?
It's in red, the 13.0 plus or minus feet along, up by the rear of that, by the rear property line.
Oh, up here. You're saying, oh, right here.
Down, like that 13, so basically I scaled in that lot line from that plan onto this plan of 13.0 plus or minus feet. And if you go down to Hardy Street, there's 17.0 plus or minus plus or minus feet.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would move to mark exhibit 6Q, we're looking at here for identification.
Okay. I'm sorry, Attorney Scarano, any objection to its marked for identification?
Not marked for identification, Your Honor.
That's all I have for Mr. Giuliano. Thank you. I could stop sharing my screen if you'd like.
Yes.
I'd like you to return the cursor if that was possible.
Well, you're gonna have to do your own cursor. I'm sorry.
Um,
Go ahead, Attorney Scarano.
Thank you. Mr. Giuliano, you represented the Moroses all throughout the conservation hearings, and I think you sent a letter in. Do you recall the exact date that you appeared at your first conservation meeting?
I don't, but I want to say it's October of 2015.
And as a result of your first appearance, you recall that you were disputing riverfront area that was being considered by the Conservation Commission in an order of conditions application.
Yes.
And you provided a series of correspondence, and you also appeared directly at the meeting and gave some oral presentation, correct?
Yes.
You represented the Moroses in the dispute over technical data, correct?
I'm not sure what that means, but basically I was, if I remember, I don't have that document in front of me, but I believe it was contesting the riverfront area and whether it was degraded or not.
Mm-hmm. And eventually, the area that you contested resulted in a denial order of conditions. Is that accurate?
The Danvers Conservation Commission denied the application, yes.
And that resulted in an appeal to DEP for a superseding order. Is that your memory?
Yeah, well, I think you went to Superior Court first and then went to DEP, because I think DEP waited for that Superior Court case to finish.
And I would ask you just to answer the question. You eventually ended up with the appeal case in DEP, did you not?
We ended up going to DEP.
Okay. As a result of going to DEP, did you represent the Moroses at that time?
Yes.
And you were aware that there were several plans necessary to be prepared by the Fitch surveyors and engineers to go forward with the order of conditions superseding order. Is that correct?
Well, if I recall, DEP issued a superseding order to deny the project.
And that was the appeal that went further in DEP, correct?
And then it was appealed to the adjudicated judge.
Went to an ALJ judge, correct?
Yes,
And you represented the Moroses through that process.
that is correct.
And as a result of that process, Fitch provided several different plans to DEP, correct?
Yeah, I don't remember how many plans, but obviously plans were submitted. I just don't remember the plans.
Do you recall that there was a DEP settlement plan that you reviewed known as DEP settlement plan, alternate settlement plan 2?
I don't remember the
Fine.
plan.
Let me see if I can bring that up. Alternate settlement plan number 2. It's a disputed exhibit. Should be down here somewhere. It's been marked as the number of the day, 6 M's. So we're going to bring that up.
I don't, Your Honor, I just don't know if I see that in the share file folder.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I was looking at 5 M's.
Maybe it is 5 M's, but it's listed
Yeah, go ahead.
as alternate settlement plan number 2 PDF, and we have it down in the documents as 6 M's.
I have it as 6 M's and I have the plan.
Oh, all right.
I'm just looking through my share file and I don't, just a point of reference on that.
Yeah, I don't have it on what I'm looking at, but that's okay. Call it up and we'll see.
I think the only one that may be able to bring it up is the
Me.
recorder.
Okay, wait a minute.
Amanda, Pam, oh, maybe this is it here. Oh, I think I have it up on the screen now.
That's what I have. Yes.
Okay, all right. And I can't use a cursor, I don't believe, but I'm going to blow it up and I'm going to direct Mr. Giuliano's attention to the title block in the lower right-hand corner.
Can you move it over? It's hard to see with the thumbnails.
I can.
Maybe not. I mean,
I might not be able to, Your Honor. I think I can reduce the
yeah,
plan.
why don't you try
I
to
think
do-
I can reduce it. That might help. Let me just try that so we can look at the title block.
There you go.
Is that a help?
Can you read the title block there, Mr. Giuliano?
Yes, it says alternative settlement plan number 2.
And the date on that plan, sir?
I can't read it.
Okay, let me just expand that view. And are you able to read it now?
Looks like August 17th, 2017.
August 17th, 2017. So in relation to your representation of the Moroses, this was the plan before DEP for the final settlement. Would you agree?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection?
If we could go to sidebar on it, I don't want to have a speaking objection.
Sure. Sidebar.
Your Honor, I would move to admit the plan with the 6 Ms into evidence.
Kornitsky? Attorney Kornitsky,
No objection.
okay. 6M is admitted as Exhibit 134.
So we're going to pull down the plan as it's been admitted. And I let Mr. Giuliano know that we're going to move on to another area. So can we pull that down? Okay, yeah. And we're going to bring up what's been marked as 122. I'm sorry, it will be QR or 6Q rather for identification. It's for identification, 6Q. Maybe maybe Attorney Kaninsky could bring that up quicker. Okay, is that it? Yep.
I don't, it might be in the agreed folder. You
I
have
think
it?
we have it as, I think this is,
6Q.
no, that's 6Q. And I was
That's
talking
marked
about
for
where he
identification.
transferred the RDA plan to a plan that he had a discussion about. It shows a red line on the RDA.
I think
Well,
it
that
is.
wasn't 6Q.
Maybe that was, I think it was only marked for identification.
All. And it is.
It's the one where he transferred the RDA line.
Oh, yeah,
It is.
that was 6Q. That was indeed 6Q, yes, wherever that is.
I don't know if that's 6Q.
And that's another one I don't see in the. Oh, it is in the shared.
It's in there, it's in the
I've got it.
Yeah, we're not finding it. Let's
And
see
the
if we can
disputed
find
It's near the bottom.
6Q should be on the bottom.
I'll see if I can get it back up.
Juliana plan dated 2021 with RDA line.
This one here,
That is the one.
okay? Is that the right size for you?
You could blow it up just one more click. Thank you. And Mr. Giuliano, you testified that you transferred the RDA line, which was a line that the Conservation Commission used, to this plan, and no one really discussed the purpose of you doing that. So I'd like to know the purpose of transferring the RDA line onto 6Q.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection?
To the question, saying what the conservation did, there's no evidence that the conservation relied at all on this line.
Okay, so why don't you rephrase the question? This was the line that was shown on the RDA plan as the area to be transferred to Morose. I'm not establishing that as a fact. That's what it was labeled as.
Okay,
That was the
And-
line transferred to the plan. So
thank
the
you.
question is, Mr. Giuliano, why did you prepare this plan with the red line there? What was the purpose? So that's the question. You can answer it.
Okay. The reason why I prepared this plan, because Mr. Konitsky asked me to show this line in relationship to the claim of adverse possession. So you can see the difference between what was the claim of adverse possession and the line that shows up on that RDA plan.
And my follow-up question would be, the area between the red line and the hatched line showing the extent of the adverse possession, that was an area determined by you.
The blue hatch, yes.
Because you went out on the site with instructions from the Moroses to kind of come about 8 feet off of the garage. That was his instructions, correct?
No, no. What that line represents is the line of lawn that they were maintaining. As I saw it on the ground. And as you get towards the rear of the garage, there's a path, and it was holding basically the edge of the path as the adverse possession line.
You recall Mr. Morose's specific instructions to you?
Well, in the field, it wasn't specific. He kind of told me what he was claiming, and I documented what I saw on the ground and created an adverse possession line.
So this line outside the red line, conservation RDA line, is your estimation of what you've seen on the ground.
Correct. So if you start off at Hardy Street.
It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question, sir.
Can you repeat the question?
The area between the red line and what you observed on the ground was an estimate.
Well, the adverse possession line is where I saw possession on the ground.
And that possession on the ground was determined unilaterally by you without the assistance of Mr. or Mrs. Morose.
The line of adverse possession.
That's just a yes or no, sir. I'm
He's
sorry.
answering, no. He's answering the question. Go ahead, Mr. Giuliano.
So that line of adverse possession is the edge of the lawn, edge of the path as I saw it on the ground.
All right, so.
I'll do a follow-up question to
No,
that.
please do, because I'm not sure that was the answer. But go ahead.
You determined unilaterally the extent of the adverse possession line outside that red line?
So outside that red line is edge of lawn and edge of path. That's how that line was determined.
My question is that you unilaterally, without the assistance of the Moroses, determined the edge of that line.
I determined the edge of that line, yes.
Thank you. And as a matter of fact, everything shown on that hatched area was based on the instructions from Morose to go out there, look down about 8 feet off the garage, and make a unilateral determination of the area possessed by us. Is that correct? Yes or no, sir?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, let me ask it again. I'll rephrase it for you. The instructions that Mr. Morose and Mrs. Morose gave you was for you to unilaterally determine the extent of their adverse possession area based on your observations.
Yes, they told me what they were possessing and what they wanted to claim for adverse possession.
And you determined what should be included on the plan based on those instructions.
So based what they wanted to claim, yes, I show that on this plan.
Okay, and because you never walked this land with James Morose, isn't that correct?
That is not correct. I did walk it with Jim and Janet.
Did you walk it with Jim and Janet on the day, November 24th?
Absolutely.
And did they accompany you down onto the hatched area and point out specific areas that they claimed?
Yes.
And who was doing the pointing? Was it Jim Morose?
Well, there's no pointing. It was just a conversation as far as what they were claiming and just walking it. And it was easy to identify. For example, the path was easy to identify, the edge of the path. They talked about the edge of the lawn. Obviously, the fence was there, so that was a slight feature that was visible.
And during your conversations with Mr. and Mrs. Morose on the 24th of November, at the time that you did your reconnaissance here, did you go all the way down to the rat tail end with Jim and Janet Morose?
Yes.
And the note that you have on the plan, did they specifically tell you on November 24th while you were accompanying them in the field that this was the plantings maintained by us?
Which note are you referring to?
It would be the note on your red lamp, right on the red line. It says plantings maintained by Morose at the rat tail end.
Okay,
It's one of, yeah.
So that note was added after my draft plan on December 12th.
So my question is, when you were accompanying Janet and Jim Morose on the visit on the 24th, November 24th, they directly pointed to that area and said, this area is an area we maintained?
I don't remember.
But you had a discussion with the Moroses in the field because that's how that note ended up on the plan?
So I produced the December 12th plan and gave it to Jim and to Mr. Kuniski to review. And I believe Mr. Kuniski said we needed to add the area under the land under the garage as a hatch area. And Jim and or Janet, I don't remember who, said we want to maintain that fence. So we want to push it further away from the fence and put a note that we maintain plantings in that area.
Did you actually see any plantings in that area, sir?
Yes, I have a picture of some small Well, it was November, so there's no leaves on it, but there's some twigs or small bushes near and located adjacent to the fence.
And how many small twigs and bushes, sir, if you recall?
I'm going to say there was probably 3 or 4 based on the pictures I took.
But the picture is an accurate representation of the twigs that you've seen on that day.
The pictures are what I saw on that day.
They've been admitted, so the court has the benefit of seeing those as well. But you're, again, indicating that in the area that you added from the December 6th to the 12th, from the December 12th to the December 18th plan, the pictures that you took accurately represent the twigs in that area.
I have a picture in that area showing twigs in that area.
Okay. And on your walk with the Moroses through this area, I want to bring your attention to the area that you have marked as a 2-foot path.
Yes.
And I don't have the benefit of the cursor, but the 2-foot path that I'm referring to is almost bisected at one point by the red line.
Correct.
And on your reconnaissance with the Moroses, did you walk that path with them both?
I believe so, yes.
And did you have a discussion on the configuration of that path that actually ends up on this plan?
No. They just said that they used this path and they wanted it located as an adverse possession claim, and I located it. They didn't direct me as to configuration or where it is. They just wanted me to locate it and place it on a plan. So
the entire configuration of the 2-foot path is your interpretation of what was on the ground.
It's not my interpretation. That is what's on the ground when I was out there November 24th. That's not an interpretation. That's where the path was on November 24th.
And the lines that you drew on there, you're indicating as a surveyor that you picked up the exact dimensions of the path. Is that accurate?
I measured the path. The path is 2 feet wide, and I located the center of the path.
The center of the path is not shown on this plan, sir.
I'm telling you what I located. I located the center of the path, and I measured the path in a couple of areas, and it's a 2-foot wide path. That's what
You
this
did
plan-
not provide a center line of the path, though. Is that correct?
I don't show the actual points located in the field on this plan.
As a matter of fact, sir, you didn't show any points as located in the field on this plan because you neither staked it or flagged it. Is that correct?
I don't understand what you mean by staked it. It's actually
Demarked it.
the path is on the ground. There's nothing to stake. It's a path that anybody can physically see and locate.
Well, thank you, but I'm going to move to strike that answer because my question was, you did not demark any.
First of all, your motion
Yeah.
to strike is allowed. So ask your question again. and that's-
My question is, Mr. Giuliano, and it's a simple one. You didn't put any stakes in the ground demarking any area of this adverse possession sketch.
As far as stakes on the perimeter of the claim of adverse possession,
As far as stakes anywhere in this hatched area demarking it.
that is correct. I did not set any stakes.
Okay. And you didn't hang any flags or anything else that would assist anybody in going out there and reproducing this plan.
No, I think this plan is reproducible because this.
Sir, I'm going to move to strike, Your Honor.
You know, I'm going to allow the motion, but Attorney Scarano, the problem is with your questions.
Okay,
Narrow them down even smaller.
I will, Your
Good
Honor. Thank you.
question. You didn't put any flags out there, did you?
I did not.
Okay. move on.
And the same question, you didn't put any stakes in the ground.
I did not.
You didn't show any center lines of any paths.
I would disagree with that because the path is shown and it's on the plan. And the edges of the path are shown on this plan.
My question, sir, is that there is no center line in the path on your plan.
That actual line that would actually identify the center of the path, that's correct.
Correct. And the areas that's shown as a cloud, and what does that represent?
That represents a large bushes, a bush of bushes in the area between the fence and the path.
And did you measure that area or flag? I'm sorry, did you flag that area?
Did I flag the area? No.
Your Honor,
Yeah, go ahead.
I already said you
Objection.
didn't flag anything.
Yeah, you didn't flag it. We don't. we know
Okay. And how is it that you measured that area in the field, sir, if there was no demarcation on the ground?
Are you referring to the bushes? What are you referring to?
The cloud, yes.
Okay, so I located the edge of bushes in the ground, in the field, on the ground. I located those bushes
And how is it you located those bushes?
by instrument survey.
And what type of instrument survey did you use?
I used a TS16 like a robotic instrument.
And who assisted you in doing that?
No one.
Did you do that on the same day that the Moroses were present?
The only time I was out here surveying was on November 24th, 2017.
So the Moroses were present.
No, they weren't. They were present they were there to walk me through what they were claiming. And after that, they went in the house and I was by myself doing the survey work that I was asked to do.
Okay. Going to move away from this and go over to the area of the triangle. And this is another area that Jim and Janet Morose pointed out on November 24th while they were in the field with you.
Yes.
And you had a discussion.
Objection. I'm just not sure which area it's referring to, which triangle. Is it
Yeah,
this
big-
here? It's my cursor.
Is that the triangle?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay. So the triangle at the rear of the property.
Correct. And my question was, you accompanied them out there and they pointed out this triangle area.
Yes, they showed that to me.
And so that means that from the outside, when you were with the Moroses, you walked through the gate and you went over to that triangle area, sir?
I think we looked at it from both sides, both from the inside of their property and outside.
Did you walk through the gate?
I did. Yes.
And did you go over to that triangle area?
To look at the back of that fence, yes.
And were you accompanied by the Moroses at that time?
Yes.
Okay. Going to move to another area of discussion.
Could I ask for like a 5-minute break?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Let's
Thank you.
come back at, well, let's come back at 2:30.
Thank you.
It's gonna break
Thank
around
you.
that line, 2:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, it says that my video is stopped by the host. Okay.
There you are. Attorney Scarano?
I have started my video, Your Honor.
Great. Are we ready to get back to it?
We are ready to get back and if we could bring up the last exhibit that was submitted by Mr. Giuliano today, that we were discussing the color contrasts and corrections, which was the very last disputed exhibit.
Got to do a little better than that for me.
I've got it. I've got it here. I'm just trying to share my screen.
I just, the information disappears off the side of my computer when we click. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Your Honor.
I can
Right.
share it. That the
And
one?
this-
I believe it is, and if we could just expand to the area.
Wait. Which, was this admitted? Was this the one that was admitted?
No, this is for ID.
This is 7H or whatever it is?
Correct.
Okay,
I think it is 7H, Your Honor,
okay.
only for identification.
Mhm.
And there was some questions on it posed by Attorney Knitsky, and I'd like to follow up in the area near Hardy Street. And if we could expand it to that area, and I hope Mr. Giuliano can see this.
Yes.
And Attorney Knitsky had asked you about certain dimensions, distances in this area that are not shown on the plan. And I know that I had written down some of the distances that were discussed in the testimony, and you indicated that there was a distance of 11.19, and I'm not sure that I followed where you were discussing this distance of 11.19. Do you have that number in your notes?
No, it's on the plan. So where that cursor is now, you see where that 19.5 feet is?
I do.
So that goes from the corner of the Morose property. There's a leader. There's a leader to the bottom. If you move it right there.
Yep.
That 19.5 goes from that point to the edge of adverse possession.
And could you move the cursor directly to the point of adverse possession?
It's there.
That's there, and that's the distance.
That's the 19.5 distance.
Okay,
And
and
then if you take the, if you see the 8.31 dimension in red,
I do.
that's from the Morose property line to the red line where it intersects the sideline of Hardy Street.
And that was the addition and subtraction that you used to come up with the 11.19.
Correct.
And that's the frontage on Hardy Street.
That's correct.
Now, you had reviewed a couple of the drawings that were presented as disputed exhibits by the surveyor, William Dietremont, with Attorney Knitsky as well. And we had a discussion about the difference in your plan and the difference in his plan. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And my question is, could those differences be due to the dates that you were out there and the initial date in 2011 that William Dietremont was out there?
No.
And do you know if there's been any changes prior to November 2024 when you were there? Are you aware of any changes made by the Moroses to this area that may have changed the dimensions?
No.
Did you, when you were in the field with the Moroses on the 24th, is this an area you had a discussion with Jim Morose about?
a discussion about, I'm sorry, can you clarify a discussion
Sure.
about what?
Is this an area, the frontage area, the driveway width? Is this an area that you had a discussion with Jim Morose about that day?
No,
Did you discuss it with Janet Morose that day?
about the driveway width?
Yes,
No,
sir.
No, we didn't talk about the driveway.
Did
Other
they
than-
fill you in with any history about whether they did any improvements to the driveway?
No,
Did you ask about whether or not they conducted or made any improvements to the driveway over the years?
I believe I did ask them, yes. And they said the driveway's been the same location for many years.
Okay. And my question was, did you inquiry them whether there was any improvements to the driveway on November 24th?
I don't recall.
Why is this relevant? I thought the parties
It's
have stipulated
The
that it's-
difference in the two, it's a difference in the two plans. One was
Oh,
done
I see,
in
I see.
2011.
I got you. I'm sorry. Continue.
So the distinction I was making was that his reconnaissance is 2017 and
Right.
Dietremont's reconnaissance is 2011.
Got it.
As it relates to the easement that you located on your plan, sir,
Are you referring to the sewer easement?
I am, sir.
Yes,
And you researched the sewer easement,
yes.
and what exactly did you research in order to come up with that location?
If you look at, on that plan, there's a list of references. And if you look on the references, I believe it's plan number, if you go down a little bit. Okay, so it'd be, I think it's plan book 249, plan 100. That's the permanent, and it also shows the temporary easements for that sewer easement.
And that's my next question, is the temporary easements are not shown on your plan, sir.
Right, they don't exist. They were
They
temporary,
existed,
they were temporary construction easements.
correct, and they existed in 1990 or thereabouts when the construction was actually executed, correct?
That is correct.
And today, we're talking about the size of the temporary easements. To the best of your memory, what size were they, sir?
I know that on the Morose side, which would be the southwest side, it's 10 feet.
And was there a 10-foot construction easement on the other side?
It was more.
And do you know what size it was?
I don't.
Was it 15 or 20 feet?
I have no idea. I can look at the plan if you'd like, but I don't know what it is.
Let's go back to the Morose side. So it would be fair to say, and if Mr. Attorney Kaninsky could bring the plan back down to its original area on the frontage and expand it a little bit, it's safe to say that that hashed line represents the 25-foot extent of the easement.
That is one edge of that easement, of the 25-foot easement, correct?
And it would be fair to say that if you were to scale 10 feet off of that permanent easement, you would then be in the adverse possession area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that temporary easement would have taken up a part of the adverse possession area, correct?
Yes, it would.
Are you aware, as a surveyor, that adverse possession generally can't be taken over city, town, or state property?
That is correct.
So, in effect, whether the easement is in existence or not, they may have to go in and dig that pipe up someday. Unlikely as it seems. Yes or no, sir?
Was there a question? I'm sorry.
Yep.
What was the question?
And the purpose of an easement being permanent would allow the city to go in there and do maintenance work.
Absolutely, yes.
And if they had to go back in there and excavate, they would still be able to take advantage of that 10-foot construction easement,
Not in my,
correct?
Your Honor.
not in my opinion, no.
Well, it's an objection. Are
Nope.
you asking him a legal conclusion about the city's authority?
Nope, I'm asking him about a surveyor's understanding of temporary and permanent easements. And,
Yeah, well, I guess, well, he did answer the question and it was no.
okay, well, thank you. And we can move off of that if Attorney Kaninsky could re-shrink that.
That was your answer, Mr. Giuliano, right?
Yes, that the temporary easement, in my opinion, doesn't exist. It was for construction purposes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just follow up. Construction purposes might mean maintenance. Is that correct?
That's not what I believe, no.
Okay, it's a fair answer. As it relates to today's testimony, are you being paid by the Moroses?
Yes,
Have you been being paid by the Moroses since you reinitiated your contract with them? And what I'd like to do is find out when you came back after DEP to work with the Moroses, or is this a new contract with the Moroses and yourself?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained, that's a very complicated question. Can we take the share screen down, please? Rephrase the question, please, counsel.
Sure thing. At some point, did your representation of the Moroses conclude after the DEP withdrawal by Attorney Kaninsky?
yes. Originally, I was hired to perform the environmental permitting on the Fitch application, yes.
And what date did they rehire you to initiate the sketches for the adverse possession claim?
I don't know exact date, but it would be, I'm guessing a year later.
So
Because
you've been, would you estimate a year for the court, please?
I don't recall what the exact time frame is as far as when I got hired to do the adverse possession.
So working back from the November 24th, 2017 plan, you have no memory of when you first started working with the Moroses to develop this plan, this adverse possession plan?
Well, the adverse possession plan was produced in this, well, I started that work in November 24th. That's when I started the field work. That's when I started that work for the adverse possession.
So the actual date of your engagement with the Moroses is November 24th, 2017.
It would be before that, as far as when they asked me to. That's when I did the field work. As far as when they actually retained me to do the work, I don't know the exact date.
Do you know when you started the survey work?
I performed the survey work on November 24th.
Okay. And what research did you do before November 24th, and how long did it take?
Research for what?
For the survey.
Research for the survey. That meant going to the registry of deeds to obtain record plans and deeds, and is probably about a week's worth of work.
So you had been working on this project, and it would be safe and fair to say in November of 2017.
Possibly even October.
Okay. But it would be fair to say late October, November 2017.
When I started the survey work, yes.
Okay. And you indicated that you were a registered land surveyor in Massachusetts,
Correct.
and you're familiar with 250 CMR 6.00,
Yes.
and there's a presumption in 250 CMR 6.00 that when you're engaged to do survey work, you're presumed to be familiar with all of the standards of care, correct?
Yes,
the land court standards,
yes.
and other standards that require you to complete work for your clients. You understand all of those standards of care, sir?
Objection, Your Honor.
Um,
I don't know what he means by other standards.
I'll clarify it, Your Honor.
yeah, please do.
For instance, one of the standards is that you stamp your plans for work.
I'm not sure I agree with you.
Is that one of the standards in 250 CMR 6.00 that you stamp your work?
I don't believe, you have to show me. I don't believe. You have
Well,
to show me the standard.
I'm asking you because in 250 CMR 6.001, it says presumptions. And I know that the document says you are to be familiar with the entire Code of Mass Regulations as it relates to surveyors.
Objection, Your Honor.
Come to sidebar, please.
What is that?
I have it. It's,
Let's just bring it up. Let's just bring it up.
The objection sustained. You may continue.
We've had a discussion regarding the work product that you've prepared in this matter. And I think we've established that you understand 250 CMR Section 6 requires certain things to be on a plan. I want to just point out a few of the areas controlled by 250 CMR Section 6.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Just point to the things that you think are a problem without.
And we'll
arguing.
bring up, can I bring up the plan again, Attorney?
Which plan are we talking about, please?
We're talking about the plan that was just up, and that would be 7 H's. And we're going to move over to the right-hand side of that document.
Doesn't let me move any further to the,
Maybe you can just blow up the right-hand side of the document
You can see.
as much as you can. That's great. This document hasn't been stamped with your survey stamp. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
And it has a revision block, and you have one revision in there dated 2/5/21. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the revision from the original document of 12/12/17 is not listed in that block? That's a yes or no?
Correct.
Okay, and you've prepared a number of plans for the court's consideration, is that correct?
I produced a lot of plans, a lot of exhibit plans for the court and for settlement with the Finches and Moroses.
And we're particularly talking about this court for this hearing. You prepared a number of plans, correct?
Produced a number of exhibits, yes.
And let's go start with the 12/12 plan of 2017. You prepared a 12/18/2017 plan, correct?
That is correct.
And you didn't stamp that plan, correct?
That's correct.
And the revisions were not shown on the 12/18/17 plan reflecting the original 12/12/17 plan, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You haven't signed these plans, correct?
I have not.
Okay, and that would go for all of the plans that we just previously discussed, the 12 plan, 2017, you didn't sign that plan?
Correct.
You didn't sign the 12/18 plan, 2017?
Correct.
And the plans that you are asking to be considered today and that we've been discussing as exhibits have not been signed?
Correct.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Read next.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Giuliano, directing your attention to questions you were just asked about signatures, stamps, and revisions. I'm just going to break that down. With respect to your plans, why didn't you sign them?
These are exhibit plans for the court, so the court can see and determine whether or not there's a claim for adverse possession. These are also plans, and I must have produced probably a dozen plans over the last 5 years, because I know there's negotiations and discussions about different configurations of this property over the years. And so I produced many plans for discussion purposes, which I've given to you to discuss with the other side over the last 5 years.
And what about why you didn't stamp these plans?
These are just exhibit plans for the court.
And with respect to the plan on December 12th, that was, you described earlier as a preliminary plan that resulted in the December 18th, 2017 plan. Why didn't you list the revision on that plan?
Because the December 12th plan was a draft plan, wasn't meant to be shared with anyone. It was an internal document between the Moroses and yourself, and it was to review my area of adverse possession claim, and the Moroses, I needed them to comment and you to comment on it to see if that's what they and you wanted to claim.
I'm just going to ask you one other question on what's been marked for identification, or actually it was contested 6Ps. On this plan, you show a feature here. What is this feature here?
Objection, Your Honor, that would be beyond the scope of the both the direct and the cross.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He was asked on cross about 6P. So,
I
give me a
can
second here.
on a different exhibit.
Okay, good.
On 7H, back to 7H. You have a feature here described as gate length.
Yes.
And what did you do in the field to measure or conclude the dimension of that gate?
In the field, I located the two ends of the gate, and then I physically measured by tape the length of the gate.
On this plan, 7H for ID, you didn't show it as open. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, where those 2 leaders are located, that's the both ends of the fence. Obviously, the one to the west is the hinge, and the one to the east is the fence that opens, fence gate that opens.
Just so I'm sure, if you're pointing, or I'm pointing, you say 2 liters, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. This is, again, beyond the scope.
Sustained.
Okay, I have no further questions for Mr. Giuliano. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up, Your Honor.
Yes.
Back to the exhibit, 6 H's,
7H.
7 H's.
Get that up,
Sure,
Attorney
straight on
Kunitzky.
that.
And back down to the title block and the very bottom of the title block. This is known as a survey plan. Is that correct, Mr. Giuliano?
This is identified as Lynn Court Exhibit Plan.
And it's S-1. Is that correct?
Yes, sheet 1, yes, S1.
And each of the plans that you have prepared for the Moroses say survey plan. Is that correct?
I produced at least a dozen plans. I don't know if they all say survey plan.
I'm not going to go through them, but you would agree with me, and it's a fair statement, that you've taken the original survey plan and you've modified it with the adverse possession areas for Morose.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay. You prepared a survey plan.
I prepared a survey plan, yes,
You did that on November 24th, 2017.
correct.
And you prepared a plan dated 12/12/2017. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And that was also known as S1.
Yes.
And then you prepared a plan dated 12/18/2017.
What was the date again? I'm sorry.
12/18/2017.
Yes.
And that plan is entitled S-1.
Yes.
Then you prepared plans submitted to the court today that are dated today, and they have the designation S-1.
Correct.
They're all your survey plan, are they not, sir?
Yes.
And each one of those requires a survey stamp according to 250 CMR Section 6.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. We didn't.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
that.
Thank you. Going back to the question, each of the plans that you've submitted for consideration by the court are all labeled S1, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything, Attorney Kunitzky?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. And take that off, stop sharing the screen. Thank you, Mr. Giuliano. You can
Thank you.
exit. Attorney Kornitsky, your next witness.
I would call Janet Morose.
Well, Ms. Morose, your screen froze. There you are. Can you hear me?
Yes,
All right. Please raise your right hand to be
Have
sworn.
them all in order.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Could you state your name, please?
Janet Morose?
Ms. Morose, are you alone in the room?
Yes,
Do you have anything in front of you, any materials? in
just the
front of you?
exhibit list.
Okay, very good. Thank you. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Morose, where do you live?
20 Hardy Street, Danvers, Mass.
And with whom do you live?
James, my husband.
How long have you been married?
49 years.
And what do you do for work?
I'm retired. I do some seamstress work, but just retired.
How long have you lived at 20 Hardy Street?
47 years.
With respect to 1517 Florence Street, are you familiar with that property?
Yes,
What is that property?
that was Dr. Breed's office building.
Well, where is it in relation to your property?
Oh, it's behind our lot.
And when you moved to 20 Hardy Street, you know who owned 1517 Florence?
Dr. Breed. I'm
Did you
sorry,
ever-
what, Mark?
Did you ever meet Dr. Breed?
Yes,
Do you know if Dr. Breed lived at 1517 Florence Street?
no, he did not.
What did he use that building for, if anything?
For his office.
And what was your relationship like with Dr. Breed when you first moved to Hardy Street?
Just a hi, a wave, hello.
Did you ever speak with do you know, was he married?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Do you recall ever speaking with his wife?
No, don't recall.
Do you know if he had children?
Yes,
How many children?
well, I know Bonnie Breed Bingle.
And do you know if did you ever speak with Miss Bingle
Yes,
regularly?
no,
Do you know if Miss Bingle was married?
yes,
Do you know who she was married to?
John Bingle.
Do you know John Bingle?
Yes,
How do you know John Bingle?
I had seen him over at the property a few times.
And you ever speak with Mr. Bingle?
Yes,
How regularly?
very rarely.
At the time that you purchased, or at the time that you moved to your property, you said it was in, what year was it that you moved to your property?
1973.
What were the improvements at your property at that time?
We had a house, garage, fences around the property, partial fences, driveway.
And you listened to the testimony of your husband, James, earlier, yesterday and today, is that correct?
Yes,
Did you hear his testimony about the timeframes in which he performed or installed or made changes to the fencing around the property?
yes,
Do you agree with his testimony as to when he installed or did work on the fences?
yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection?
Your Honor, if he's going to adopt specific testimony, it can't be obviously as broad as an area that may cover several pages of transcripts.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
we could narrow that
appreciate that.
down.
Yep.
I mean, I know you don't want to spend enormous amounts of time, but we do have to be more specific. Attorney Kornitsky sustained.
Okay, thank you, Your
Great.
Honor.
I mean, look, you've got the triangular area, you've got fencing along the side, you've got years, you've got the gates, you've got all kinds of things that you might want to be a little more specific about. You don't have to go to every detail, but I think you have to be more specific than do you adopt everything your husband said.
I figured it was gonna get covered on cross, and maybe I would, look, we've gone pretty slow thus far. I was looking to
I
see.
know
if-
we've gone slow, but I think, you know, the facts matter here, so we'll have to
Yep.
go through them.
Okay,
You don't have to go to every detail.
I'll try my best not to. Okay, so Ms. Morose, first, I'm going to share my screen, and I am going to go to what's been marked as Exhibit 1. Are you familiar with this document?
Yes,
And what is this document?
this is the adverse possession plan that was submitted to the court with a complaint.
And do you know who completed this plan?
Mike Giuliano?
And did you engage Mike Giuliano to work for you to complete this?
Yes,
You don't have to qualify the plan. Just use it to ask her about the different answers.
I'm going to ask her about actually, I have a good way of doing. I'll go to the chalk to look to get through it quicker.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Honor. Ms. Morose, I'm showing you a document which has been marked for identification as chalk number 1. Are you familiar with this document?
yes,
Would this document assist you in your testimony about certain issues in dispute for this case?
yes. Yes,
So I was first going to ask you, if you see there are areas that are referenced by color and letter to describe certain features on your property or the abutting property, do you see that?
yes.
So I'm going to ask first on when you moved to the property, was there a fence? What was along this line where it's pointed to in yellow and A behind your garage? What was there when you moved there?
A white picket fence.
And at some point in time, any changes made to that fence?
Yes.
What changes were made?
In 1975, it was replaced.
Replaced with what?
It's kind of like a dog ear type of fence with rounded top.
Is it essentially the same fence that's located now at that location?
Yes, yes,
Who installed that fence?
James.
Did you help him at all install that fence?
I'm sure I did. Yes.
And with respect to what did you use this fence for back when it was installed by Jim in 1975?
To go out into the area to trim bushes, plant bushes,
How would you get to that area?
open the gate. out
Yeah.
into the out area.
Is it
It'll,
where the gate is located?
um,
I think she
right
just-
about where your, it's kind of blurry, but right about where your arrow is.
And right about where the cursor is here.
Yes,
And do you know if there was any difference between the gate in the post 1975 fence in terms of width from the pre 1975 fence?
Objection. It's just leading the
Objection.
witness, Your Honor, and I
No.
understand the
No,
preciousness
he's
of
not.
time.
He's not leading the witness. She could say yes, she could say no. I don't know. Go ahead.
Ms. Morose, you can answer the question.
oh, it's the same size, is that what you asked, Mark?
If it was the same width, was the pre to the post.
Yes,
I next wanted to ask you about this section, this area of this chalk labeled as B and in pink. What is this area here?
that's the back corner fence that also was very similar to the A fence. And that was put in 1976.
And who installed that?
James,
I'm going to ask you about this area that is indicated by C, a thick black line. What is this?
that's a stockade fence that was on Dr. Pre's property,
When was that there when you moved to the property?
still there.
Or was it there when you moved there?
It was there when we moved in.
Next, I'm going to ask you about this area here in blue. It's labeled D. What does this represent?
That's a fence that Jim and I put in 1989. Taller fence.
How tall is that fence? Do you know?
I think it's 6 feet.
I'm now going to ask you about this area here, E, with a line. I think it's a little lighter black. Do you recognize, what can you tell me about this area?
That was also put in 1989 to connect to B.
You know how tall that fence is?
That's 6 feet too.
Now, with respect to the fence here at section B, how tall was it when it was installed in 1976?
Yes. Well, it was a shorter fence. And then in it was the year 2000 maybe, Jim. I don't know the exact date, but he put taller pickets on it.
Ask you one other question about the gate that you described here at in the yellow area at A. Which way does that gate swing?
Outward,
To your left or your right as you're heading out?
to the left.
This area, actually, I'm going to go back now. I think I'm done with the chalk, and I'm going to ask you about exhibit number 1. You see that on the screen?
Yes,
Ask you about this hashtag area, this hashed area on exhibit 1. Do you see this?
yes.
Now, did you use this area since 1973?
Yes.
How have you used that area?
Mowed it, planted grass seed. The kids even had a brownie meeting in there on that corner of the yard.
I was also going to ask you, this area between the wood fences that are shown here on the plan,
Yes.
is there anything located between those fences?
Oh, yes. There's quite a few trees.
Okay. With respect to this exhibit 1 that you described as Mr. Giuliano preparing, what activity did you perform? I'm going to ask you not with respect to the area within the fenced-in part of closest to your yard, which is no longer contested. I'm going to ask you about specifically in the areas on the other side of this fence. What activities did you first perform in this area that is closer to the Fitch property after the gate, if any activities?
Planted roses in that area and fertilized and trimmed regularly. And
Do you know if any, did you ever make any repairs to the fence in that area?
if so, Jim would have done it. I actually put some blocks and some rocks there to try to prevent the critters from coming in to eat our garden.
And in this area here, we'll call it from the gate to the garage. In this area, what activities did you engage in, if any?
Planted some lilac bushes and forsythias, and that's the area where kids, when they were little, had a fort, and they would have bring their little chairs and table and have a tea party. And on sometimes it would get muddy on that pathway where the gate is, and we put little pebbles there.
When did you
And the
begin?
kids actually put little colored. Am I rambling? I'm sorry, Mark.
No.
What?
I'm going to ask you another question, though.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you when you began using this area.
When we moved in 73.
How often would you use this area?
Well, I don't think I could give you an estimate regularly from 73 to now.
Now, how about in this area next to the garage, adjacent to the garage, referring to not the area that's no longer in dispute, but there's 4.89 feet that is still in dispute. Did you make any use of this area?
Yes, I walked that area regularly and trimmed all of the overgrowth that was on to the right of that side.
And how about this area adjacent to your driveway? Once again, the area that's still in dispute, which angles out towards the street.
And
How
from
would
the town of Danvers.
you use that area?
Yes. I'm sorry, Mark, would you say, how did I use that area?
Yes. What uses did you make, if any, at that area?
Oh, trimming the bushes that were there, and then later mowing in that area.
Did
And then
you,
using, I'm sorry, go ahead.
did you do any of the mowing, or did someone else do it?
Oh, every now and then I would.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 7. Do you recognize this document?
Yes,
Or that I can't,
rotate there.
you know who is in this picture?
That's me.
You know who took this picture?
James.
And what are you trimming here? Well, what are you doing here? I should say.
Roses. I'm trimming roses.
And do you know where specifically you are standing?
I am on the uh, back in, I'm in the backyard right near the A fence.
So if you gave me a, well, do you know who planted those roses?
We did.
You know when?
It was the early 70s.
Do you know when this picture was taken?
That was in, I believe, 84.
I have a question. I want to make sure I understand. You're standing
I'm sorry.
on the side, I'm sorry. In that picture, you're standing on the side of the fence closer to your house rather than on the north side, correct? Or not?
No, I think that, no, I'm closer to the rear. I'm closer to the rear fence.
And
No, I guess what I mean is you're on the side of the fence, you know, there's two sides of the fence. The southern side's the one more by your house, the northern side's on the towards the Fitch property. And you're on the southern side of the fence in that picture? Does that make sense?
Well, no, I'm more towards the northern end of the rear lot. If that's what
No, I'm
you're
not
asking.
talking about,
Oh.
I'm not talking about, I guess, is the fence between you and the path in that picture?
And the adverse possession area? Yes,
Yeah, it is. Okay.
yes.
Thank you. That
Bruce,
was, yeah, I was asking bad questions. I apologize, Ms.
Well, I
Morris.
think it was my internet was going in and out.
Okay.
Ms. Morose, what is this blue here that you see in the photo?
Um, that's the pool.
The pool's in your backyard?
Yes,
So do you know who took this picture?
James.
So where would James, in your opinion, have been standing to take this picture if you can see the pool in it and where you're located?
Mark, I think you just broke up. I didn't hear what you said.
Sure. I'm just asking where you think Jim was standing to take this photo.
Well, he had to be on the other side of the pool.
Okay. Did you ever ask anyone for any permission to plant these roses?
No,
Did you ask anyone for permission to cut these roses?
no.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 8. This one I can rotate and blow up so you can see a little better.
Yes,
Okay, so do you recognize this photograph?
yes.
What is this photograph of?
That's myself and my two daughters.
And
Where-
who's here?
That is Marnie, my daughter, my oldest daughter.
And how old is she in this picture? Can you tell? Well, first, do you know when the picture was taken?
Spring of 84.
Well, how old is Marnie now?
Marnie is 48. So you had to be around 12.
And who is this here?
That's me,
And who is this here?
Heather.
And how old is she now?
Heather's 45 and she was probably about 9 in that picture.
And Heather's your daughter as well, right?
Yes.
And what is in this area here that I'm pointing to?
Those are the roses.
Now, as I move down, stop me if you can tell me where you were when you were cutting those roses that were in the prior exhibit, okay?
Could have been, yeah, right in that area. Oh, nope, you're going too far. Yep.
Oh, here?
A little bit further, a little bit over more to further. Yeah, right in that area.
Okay, so you were in the backyard generally in this vicinity?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Now, you've heard testimony about a path. Can you describe what the path, was there a path when you moved the property in 1973?
Yes.
How has the path changed, if at all, over time? Can you
Well, the
hear me?
path, using it more extensively, it's gotten more pronounced.
What was it like when you moved there in 1973?
Well, there was a path there. I mean, you could open the gate and walk in. So we just, used it.
And I'm going to show you next what's been admitted as Exhibit 111. You recognize this photo?
Yes, that was the same year. Yes,
And do you know who took this photo?
I did.
And so this, you said the same year, that was 1984?
Yes, that was in the fall, and the other where the roses was spring.
So the roses aren't in bloom in this picture.
No,
Um, can you tell me about this area here? What do you see here?
that's the rear fence. I think in the chalk. Is that C?
Well, just tell me what you see. What you see.
Oh, what do I see? I see the fence on the back area of the corner of the yard.
And you described it as being a lower fence.
Yes,
So that's the lower fence you described.
yes.
What is this right here?
That's the windows from Dr. Breed's medical building.
So there were windows here on this side of the building at all times since you moved there?
Yes,
You ever see anybody
Yes.
in the windows?
yes.
Anyone that you recognized that you'd see in those windows?
I think a few times I had seen Bonnie Breed looking out.
Do you recall when?
No,
And I'm showing you on this photo, I'm pointing to an object. You see what I'm pointing to?
it just came up. Internet connection is unstable. But did you ask me what that pipe is?
I asked
It's a
what this
yes,
is. What is it?
yes. It's actually a metal fence post that was dug into the ground and cemented.
Do you know who put that in?
James,
And do you know how far over from this fence post in either direction the gate is?
yes, 2 pickets over,
This
and
picket,
then 2 pickets over. Yes.
is that the beginning of the gate?
No, you'd have to go to the next one over, and it's 4 pickets wide.
So this picket, and I'll count
Yes.
for this being 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4.
Correct.
So that comprises the pickets that are part of the gate.
Yes.
I'm next going to show you what's been marked as contested exhibit M.
Didn't we admit M is 121?
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I still have it as
Okay.
exhibit M, but I know it has been uploaded. I'm showing you what's now Exhibit 121. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
What does this show?
shows the gate open into the adverse possession area and showing the path.
And do you know when this photo was taken?
Could have been, oh, maybe in 2018 or 19.
And at this point, what are these above the fence that we saw in the earlier picture?
Those are extension pickets.
Who put those on?
Jim,
You know when he did that?
it was in 2017.
And so at this point, the gate still is comprised of the same number of pickets.
Yes.
I'm just going to go back to what's been marked as exhibit number 1. And I was just going to ask you, when you moved to the property in 1973, what did you know about the location of your garage as it related to your property?
Mark, you broke out. What did you say? What did I know regarding?
The question again, so I'll make sure you get that all.
Okay.
When you moved to the property in 1973, what did you understand about the location of your garage as it related to the property you owned at that time?
That it was part of our purchase.
What did you understand, if anything, about the area outside of the fence in your garage?
When the gate opened up out into that area, we just started to use it, and because it opened outward.
I'm next going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 112. You recognize this exhibit?
Yes,
Who is this here?
that's me.
You know what year this was taken?
I believe it was in 88,
And you know who took this picture?
James.
And is this the fence that we were looking at before in the other photos?
Yes,
And so what are you doing in this picture?
trimming and cutting.
And where are you standing in this picture?
I'm in the pathway.
I'm next going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 114. And do you know when this picture was taken?
1990.
And who is this in the picture?
That's me.
Who is this?
That's Heather.
So that's the one who was 9 years old in the earlier photo,
Yes,
a few years later. And what are you doing in this picture?
planting.
Now I'm going to ask you about your driveway here, okay? Where you're standing.
Yes,
Since you've moved to the property, have you made any changes to the width of the driveway?
no,
Now, in 1990, what use of the area next to the driveway that's adjacent to it towards the river did you engage in, if any?
trimming these bushes. Is that what you're asking, Mark? Or
I'm asking what use you made of this area, basically where the canoe is located and next to it.
Well, the kids played basketball, so of course, basketball would get into that area. We trimmed it, and we put the canoe there a lot after we'd come in from the water.
Now, the area to the front here, is this the basketball goal? in that?
Yes,
Is this part of the area you claim by adverse possession?
no,
The area is further back, right?
yes,
Back from Hardy Street.
yes.
I'm going to show you next exhibit 11. You recognize this photo?
Yes,
And when this photo was taken?
that would be 1990.
You know who took this photo?
Jim,
And this shows your driveway.
yes.
And what was going on in this photo? What's this equipment here?
I said we're ready to start digging and putting in the sewer pipes. Mark, may I say something? No?
You have to wait for a question, Ms. Morose.
Okay,
I mean, if it's part of what you're answering this question, you can continue your answer, but you can't add stuff that's not part of the question.
What else do you, before I go to the next exhibit, what else do you see in this picture?
well, I see some, overgrowth, and then I can see through some of the path, dark area there beside the garage.
I blow it up. Where can you see the path?
Well, that you can see the dark area beside the garage, the white beside the garage.
I know,
Adjacent to the garage, you're saying, or?
Yes, right next to the garage. It's kind of a different angle.
I
I understand.
Okay,
You recognize what this is here? Is this part of the,
I think that's a manhole pipe.
and how long was that located there for?
Oh, I don't remember. Don't remember.
You recall at any time this being located closer to your garage than it is here?
No.
I'm next going to go to exhibit 10. So this is a different view. You see what this is this before or after the prior photo?
I think that was after.
And what's going on in this photo?
I believe they're getting ready to put that pipe in.
So do
They're
you know-
digging up, yeah, I'm putting the 8 by, the sheets of plywood to cover the hole.
so is this the area that was dug up during
Yes,
that project? Did they dig
and a
up it?
lot. Yes,
Did any of your driveway get dug up?
no,
And did the area where your basketball goal was located, was the post and where it was fixed to the ground, was any of that dug up?
I don't recall.
Okay. I'm next going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 15. You recognize this?
Yes, that's the A&R plan.
Seen this before?
Yes,
Do you recall whether or not you attended a meeting of the Danvers Planning Board related to this plan?
no, we did not.
When did you first become aware of this plan?
Would have been a couple months after this meeting.
When did you first learn of an issue concerning the garage being over your record property line?
When we saw this,
What did you do after you learned of that?
we had a consult with a lawyer,
Do you know who that lawyer was?
Lenny Femino
You know where he's located?
in Beverly.
Did you engage Attorney Femino?
No,
Why not?
Objection,
What's the objection?
relevance,
That's a good objection. Come to sidebar.
Ms. Morose,
yes.
why didn't you engage Attorney Femino?
We just figured we had already perfected the 20-year, so we were just going to wait.
I'm next going to show you what's been marked as contested exhibit W.
I think that's been admitted as Exhibit 115.
I didn't do as good a job marking these as I thought I did. I moved them all, but I have it as 115. Thank you, just not in my notes. What do you see in this photo? Or first I should ask,
You see the far corner of the rear lot
do you know,
with
you know who took this photo?
Jim.
You know when?
Where, I don't know, it could have been, I don't know, 2002 or 3. I really don't know, sorry.
Okay. What does this photo show?
It shows some replacement pickets because the other ones were pretty well warped and rotted.
And is this the area that was shown that was in the chalk that you described at the rear under the windows of the Fitch building?
Yes,
And we saw the pictures from the earlier exhibits that showed the fence here being much shorter. And you described it as a taller fence being later installed. Is this
Yes.
the taller fence?
that's the tall fence.
Next, going to direct your attention to Exhibit 12. You recognize this document?
Yes, I believe that's from the zoning board regarding 1517 Florence Street.
Do you recall attending any hearings with respect to this petition and decision?
Yes, I think we attended that one.
Do you know what property this petition and decision concerned?
1517 Florence Street.
I'm gonna next move to, oops, excuse me, Exhibit 117. Recognize this photograph, this exhibit?
Yes,
What do you see in this photograph? Or first, who took this photograph? Do you know?
Tim,
What does this show?
this shows the tree that was cut down in the adverse possession area and laying out into the field.
Is this the field?
And it
out
shows,
there?
yes,
I'll ask you about a few different things here. So is this the tree you just
Okay.
discussed?
yes.
And what is this area here?
That's the grass area.
And what is this here? This tire.
That's Jim's entrepreneur fence, which he used a tire and filled it full of concrete, and put a 2x4 in there. And
Did you say entrepreneur
the-
fence?
used to do that to hold the bushes back. Yes,
Okay.
and he would hold the bushes back with that.
Do you recall whether or not you ever asked anyone for permission to cut this tree down?
No,
You heard some testimony from your husband about conversations he had with Mr. Fitch. Were you present for any of those conversations?
I was standing, I was
Sure.
out in the street, but no, I didn't hear the actual details.
So you observed your husband have a conversation, speak with
Objection,
Mr.
Your
Fitch?
Honor. Just time frame in this area.
Are you talking, Ms. Attorney Krunitsky, about around the time the tree was cut down?
Correct, before the tree came down.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm going to ask a different question, though. At some point in time prior to the tree coming down, did you observe your husband having a conversation or speaking with Mr. Fitch?
Yes,
Where did you observe them together?
in the field area.
How long did you observe them to be together talking?
Oh, I really don't remember or recall.
And then after the, do you know how long after they spoke the tree came down?
I would have been the next day.
You know how long the tree remained in this?
Or it could have been, I really don't know if it was the same day or the next day.
Okay. I'm going to ask you if you know how long the tree remained in this position cut down for.
I think it could have been anywhere between week and a half, 2 weeks.
Next, going to go to Exhibit 118. You recognize this photograph?
Yes,
You know when this was taken?
that was the, let's see, 18. That was right when the tree was taken down. So that was in the wait a minute, let me see here. I think that was, that was the spring of '04. Yeah, that's that's my granddaughter.
What's different about your house in this photo?
We have a dormer.
You know when the dormer was installed?
No, I don't know, 80, late 80s.
In this photograph, can you observe any of the path area?
No, I actually can kind of see it. We're on to the right of Kayla. It's the perspective of this picture doesn't really show, but can you move that over, Mark, to the right more, please? No, just more to the right of Kayla. I can see kind of a pathway.
In this area?
No, up towards the garage with that, yes, in that area.
So it's in front of these bushes?
Yes. Can we decrease that size if possible? Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, and right, you could see through the pickets in the fence to the right, down a little bit. Yeah, right in that area.
Over here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm next going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 103. And have you seen this exhibit before?
Yes.
I'm going to point to a specific feature here. You recognize this? Does this reflect how your property looked in April of 2008?
Yes.
What is this area here?
That's the back fence area in the corner of the yard. The 14 square feet of adverse possession area.
And what is to the front here? Does this show an area that you recognize?
Yes, that's beside our driveway.
And in this photo, it's a car parked in front of your garage?
Yes.
And actually, I'm going to move on from there.
Mark, could you repeat the question, what you asked me, please?
I'm all done with the questions.
Okay.
I'm next going to go to 119. You recognize this photo?
Yes.
You know who took it?
James.
And where is this taken from?
That's taken from the area right to the side of our driveway.
And is this area here that's shown that's been cut down, is that part of the area you claim by adverse possession?
No.
You know who cut this area?
James.
And is this the post you earlier described that Jim used to hold back bushes?
Yes, that's his fence design, yes.
Next, going to show you 120. And you know when this photo was taken?
No, what exhibit is that one in the, well, the new
20
file and the old file?
was
I'm
contested
sorry.
exhibit 8. It was contested exhibit H. It's now been marked as 120.
Okay. So he's mowing the lawn, and I think that was in 2010 or 2000. I'm sorry,
No, that's fine.
2000.
You're answering it.
You think it was one?
2010 or 2011.
And you took this picture?
Yes.
And this bench that's located here, is this where it was normally located?
No.
Where would you normally keep that?
Well, it depended, but most likely it was kind of right more towards those white chairs, towards the
Over here, the side of the garage?
well, yeah, sometimes we'd put it there if we were gonna look out into the river, but most of the time it was right at the beginning of that path area.
Over here, where Jim is cutting before where he's
I'm
cutting?
Yes.
sorry, I didn't, objection, Your
Yes.
Honor. I didn't quite catch that answer. It seemed to have
Yeah.
been going in and out.
Yeah, repeat your answer. Where was the bench mostly?
If you see the white chairs, usually to the right of those. And sometimes we'd have it facing, more towards the driveway, and then sometimes we'd turn it around and then look out at the river. Or if we had just brought the canoe in or the kayaks in, we'd sit on it.
Do you recall when you moved the bench to this area?
How often well, after the mowing.
When you,
We-
well, when did, no, my question is, when did you buy the bench?
I don't recall. If this was 2011, I don't know how many years we had it since then.
I'm next going to ask you about Sally Calhoun.
Okay.
So at some
Why don't
point
we
you
start?
hired
It's
Attorney
a new
Calhoun.
subject. It's 3:57. You can take the exhibits, the share screen down.
Sorry about that.
All right. What's your estimate based on how fast we're going? Of how many? Is it 2 more days, you think? 1 more day?
I can tell you I'm at 2012 and I'm going to get to 2015. So I have maybe 10 or 15 minutes left with Ms. Morose on direct.
Okay,
And that's going to be my case, Your Honor.
okay. And then Attorney Scarano, who do you expect to call?
In order, I believe we're calling Mr. Bingle, then Mr. Fitch, then Mrs. Fitch, and the surveyor and engineer as it relates to the plans. Your Honor, I fully expect to get through them fairly quickly. I don't think there's a lot of area in dispute for the surveyor or the engineer. They're mostly fact-based view witnesses rather than contentious experts. And I think the Fitches will probably have about the same time as the Moroses. I can't see that being much different with the number of exhibits here, Your Honor.
Right, that's 2 days.
Your Honor, I'd expect my cross of each of those witnesses to be the fact witnesses, very much more condensed. I'll probably be no more than 15 minutes with each witness, I would expect.
All right, so here's what we have available.
I gotta
Got
get the
February
calendar.
25th, February 26th, March 5th. Might have March 17th, 18th, and 19th. I think that trial's gonna get put off, but I guess I shouldn't give it to you until it is.
A motion was filed in that, Judge, so 17th, 18th, and 19th would be available.
Oh, okay, good. So 17th, 18th, and 19th. So those are some days. What do you want? Do you want to talk to your witnesses? Because I know Attorney Scarano, you might have to make sure your surveyor, your experts are available.
I will have to do that, Your Honor, and Fred Geisel, I'm going to have to at least contact him regarding if there's any ongoing issues.
Sure.
I think Mr. Bingle will probably make himself available unless there's some commercial real estate activity. But tentatively, I see those dates as realistic, March 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Attorney Kornitsky?
All
I'm
those dates,
sorry, I'm looking at February, Your Honor.
the February dates, all those dates you gave, Judge, are fine with me, and I assume with my clients.
All right,
I asked them.
confer with each other. I'm going to give them to you again. And you can pick one. But let me know what you like in about it within the week. You know, by the 12th. We've got the 25th, the 26th, March 5th, March 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Is there a possibility that some witness could testify on those single days, Your Honor, even if we testified out of order?
Well, you can call witnesses out of order if you talk to each other.
Because it might work for, after I check with them, that maybe one of these days might work for someone that's out of order. If you don't prefer doing that and stringing them together, I will check all the dates.
I'm not anticipating 6 more days of trial. These are options
Yes.
to pick one out of these.
Okay.
But, you know, again, if you have some scheduling issues and you need more than one because there's a partial day, that's your universe of days I'd like you to look at. So confer with each other and email Clerk Marino by the 12th. If you're having some issues, email Clerk Marino and we'll get on a Zoom. I just need to know,
So by the
you know, it's my way of giving you a chance to check with your witnesses to make sure they're available. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
And once a
Thank
date's
you.
picked, if someone could let me know.
Oh, yes, I think that's
Sorry,
important.
to let you know.
Thank you.
Do you have any issue with any of those, Pam?
No,
Okay,
no, whatever you need.
okay.
Your Honor,
right.
is there any admonishment regarding conversations between witnesses, et cetera? Is there
No,
anything that needs to be spoken to on that?
no, I can't really tell Ms. Morose not to talk to her husband.
No, that would be not something I wouldn't want to get in
Nor can I
between, Your
tell
Honor.
Mr. and Ms. Fitch not to talk to each other, so.
Nope.
I think I'll leave it at that, but I will say this, because everyone's here. We've actually managed to agree on some part of this claim. And so it's a lot smaller area to determine, but it's still open. And this case can come out 4 ways. There's where the Moroses get everything they're claiming. There's another one where the Fitches get everything they're claiming. There's one where everybody is happy. And there's the outcome where no one is happy. So the only outcome where everyone would be happy, or at least not unhappy, is if you agree. If you give it to me, one side could win everything, or the other side could win everything, the opposite side losing everything. Or I could render a decision that nobody likes. And that's probably what would happen if you gave it to me to decide. Just not because I've already decided this case, I have not. I haven't heard all the evidence. I can just tell you from my experience, I render decisions that make everybody unhappy. So if you want to get some certainty and know what you're getting and not be unhappy, or at least totally unhappy, see if you can reach an agreement. It's never too late. There's a poem by Bertolt Brecht I'm quite fond of that starts, you can make a fresh start with your last breath. You can settle a case at any time, including in the middle of trial, after trial, all that stuff. The advantage to you of settling now is you don't have to pay your attorneys for the rest of the trial. And you will not be risking everything on me. Okay? But, but we're in the middle of trial. I'll hear the evidence. If you don't agree, I'll hear the rest of the evidence and I'll decide it. But I really do think you should think about whether there's an agreement to be made here. Okay? So
Thank you, Your Honor.
in the meantime, I'll hear from you by the 12th about these dates.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, we will stand in recess. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.